Thank you all for sharing and being here. Art and Awareness as a Catalyst for Healing is a program that's part of the Artful Practices for Wellbeing initiative here at MoMA. And one major goal of this initiative is to help support nervous system regulation, recognizing that we could all benefit from feeling more grounded in the present, connected to ourselves and one another, and settled in our bodies. And what we are aiming to do is work in ways that support our minds and bodies in finding a little more ease. For example, by slowing down, increasing internal awareness, attuning to one another, and using multiple senses to engage and connect. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Sará King and Orlando Villarraga for all the energy and love they had put into collaborating on today's program and for designing a thoughtful experience for all of us. And to Dr. Angel Acosta for joining us as well to help frame this work. And thank you also to museum colleagues and collaborators, in particular to Adelia Gregory and Lisa Mazzola for all their work on this program. Before I turn things over to Dr. Acosta, I want to share a few notes to ensure that everyone is able to participate in the best way possible. Live captioning is available by clicking on the CC Live Transcript button at the bottom of your screen and selecting Show Subtitles. We'll be together for 90 minutes, and Dr. Sará King will soon be sharing an outline of what our time together will look like. There will be moments of pause and reflection throughout, along with invitations to share your experiences. And please know that all of the invitations throughout this program are optional. Always do what feels best for you in the moment, paying attention to your internal experience. We'll use the chat as a space to share reflections, insights, and experiences when prompted, noticing connections, and encouraging and supporting one another. As you do share, a gentle reminder to please make sure you also leave and create space for others to do the same. We ask you to be mindful of the privilege you may hold as we work together to create an environment where everyone feels welcome. There may be times where others share experiences that are dissimilar to yours. In all of our programs, we encourage you to honor the lived experiences of others. And fair warning, we will not tolerate any behavior or speech that abuses anyone. You have everything you need to participate, but we highly recommend having some writing materials available, perhaps even art supplies, so that you can reflect on your experiences throughout and creatively express yourself if the desire arises. And for a more immersive experience, we recommend using headphones with the music Orlando has composed for this program. Following the program, you'll receive an email with resources, including information about the artworks and artists featured. We will not be sharing a lot of art historical information in this program. You'll also receive Dr. King's system-based awareness map and Orlando Villarraga's music. And we'll be sending you a link to a survey where you'll be invited to share your thoughts and experiences. Your feedback is important to helping inform decision-making around future collaborations and programming, and will also contribute to Dr. King's research. With that, I ask you to join me in welcoming Dr. Angel Acosta. Dr. Acosta is the director of the Garrison Institute's Fellowship Program and the creative director at the New York City Healing Collective. Dr. Acosta works to bridge the fields of leadership, social justice, and mindfulness. And we will be dropping Dr. Acosta's bio into the chat, followed by Dr. King's and Orlando's. We highly encourage you to support the work of all three of these individuals. And now, Dr. Acosta.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jackie. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. My name is Dr. Angel Acosta. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to play a small role in this historical occasion. As you know, Dr. Sará King and Orlando Villarraga have a special, very special experience for you. I want to take a little time to provide some opening remarks and introduce them beyond the already very impressive bios that they both have. As I settle into these opening remarks, I want to invite you to arrive. I want to invite you to land into this present moment in whatever way makes sense for you. So bring your full awareness into this moment, acknowledging, if you see the chat, we have people from all over the world, from Dubai, Argentina, Brazil, Thailand, Indonesia, and pretty much everywhere in the continental United States. I want to also presence the fact that many of you right now are probably going through incredible levels of change, incredible levels of just happenings, human happenings. So I send you tons of energy as you navigate this phase of the pandemic. I send you tons of energy as you navigate just everything that's happening in the world, from the war in Europe to our constant struggle with finding equilibrium with our planet and dealing with climate change. So just want to take some time to slow us down, arrive in this place, holding everything that we are holding at a meta level and also at a micro level. So just a bow to you. I'm just going to say a couple of things around the historical nature of this moment. Never before, from my understanding, has the Museum of Modern Art enabled and created the opportunity for the actual work of an actual scientist to be curated. Dr. Sará King steps into her role as a neuroscientist who is a mother, who is a Black woman, who is a woman that I know as a fellow of the Garrison Institute, who is so committed to trying to transform our society. So her work and the work of Orlando Villarraga, as he is a sound artist and has worked with the Chayuma people in Colombia and in the Amazon, and he is a translator of cultures, able to navigate our modern materialist society and also the spiritual, almost animistic that of indigenous folk in Latin America. So just really very rich thinker there. Combining that with the systems-based awareness model that Dr. Sará King has put together, we are in for a treat that leverages art, leverages science in order to curate an experience that maybe, just maybe, will provide some healing, some restoration, some relief from the never-ending issues, crises that are before us in this current historical moment. And I'll close by saying that it is right on time. Think about it. We've spent almost 3 years under a pandemic and a global health crisis that has challenged each and every one of us to create some distance, to create some boundaries around how we protect ourselves and how we survive a disease, and also how we survive a moment in history that has made us all vulnerable. So thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Dr. King. It is with that I introduce you two of the many thinkers who I deeply respect, and I can't wait to start this journey. Orlando, Sará, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Angel, hermano, for such a kind and open-hearted and compassionate introduction to the space. One thing that I want to note is that before the systems-based awareness map ever even existed as a fully fleshed out model, Dr. Acosta was right there by my side. He was absolutely integral in its creation, and it actually wouldn't exist without his support and the support of the Garrison Fellowship and all of the Garrison Fellows, many of whom may be here with us today, and of which Orlando is a fellow along with myself. So I wanted to mention that. And I also just want to express my deep gratitude for all of the beings who have showed up with us here today. This program, the space, the energy that we are going to cultivate together of slowing down and attuning to the resonant power of our awareness to bring us, in a sense, closer, more intimate in our experience of ourselves and the world. This is not possible without you all. So thank you so much. I also want to give thanks to Jackie Armstrong, who is the incredible human that developed the Artful Practices for Wellbeing program. This wouldn't be possible without her creativity and her energy and her incredible capacity for relationship building. So one thing that I want to say is that I actually started out as a mindfulness meditation research scientist looking at the impact of mindfulness inside of schools. And it's been a very fortuitous, very serendipitous turning and twisting of fate that now my research is really focused in on museums. Museums as one of the primary sites where human beings go to with an intention of deliberately shifting their perception, their relationship with themselves, and the ways in which they perceive their relationship with everyone in the world, human and non-human. And really, they are doing this by activating their relationship with color and light. And I want us to think about that. By activating our relationship with color and light and our ability to perceive ourselves, there is something that begins to shift and move and change inside of ourselves, literally on the molecular level. And this is incredibly exciting when we're thinking about the field of neuroscience, because neuroscience is in a stage of its own development as a discipline, a disciplinary area of science that studies our capacity to heal and to grow and to know ourselves, really what it is to be. Neuroscience is beginning to take very seriously the role of art in our capacity to heal ourselves. And I also just want to say that in as much as neuroscience is taking art and in our relationship with color and light seriously, it is also taking music, as my colleague Orlando Villarraga would say, the omnidirectional experience of music and its capacity to move us from within. It is taking that very seriously as well for its capacity to potentially heal. And so with that, I'd love to turn it over to Orlando to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you. Yeah, I'll say a few words here just to give some more context before we get into experience. I know that you'll give more of a rundown of exactly what we'll experience, but I'm really happy you brought us to the place of seeing, of being aware of our own relationship to the color and light, whether it is the art, but I think as well bringing that sort of awareness to the sound into our listening. So this whole experience is really an invitation, I think, and I think that particularly we were very careful with how we crafted the title of the event being Art and Awareness as a Catalyst for Healing. And particularly, I'd want to highlight just the word catalyst, because as I was sitting here thinking about, oh, how do we frame the event? How do we introduce this? That word kept ringing true in me, because the catalyst is not per se saying it will do it for sure, or it's a promise that the healing will happen, but rather it's an opportunity, it's an action, it's a moment where things could shift. And I think that as we'll be here with the music, the invitation is to listen to it as a container, as a moment, as a chance to slow down, as a chance to feel into our own bodies, into our own emotions, whatever arises. And just know that in that slowing down, maybe some new perspectives might arise, or some different emotions might shift. So on top of that, I just want to send a few little tech recommendations just to help enrich the experience, but by no means are they necessary. But first of all, if there's access to headphones, we'd recommend it. Just it'll help you set an intentional space. It'll help you get a little bit more relating with the music. But like I said, it's not necessary. So if that's not available, no problem. And the other invitation is a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a way to relate to the sounds that might already be in your space, which would be, maybe you're in a place in a cafe, or you're somewhere that there's other people, or you're somewhere that the car noises might come in. And I want us to have a relationship with that could actually invite that in as part of the listening and not as a distraction. So if any of these things arise during our experience, try to see how they can fit into sort of a symphony, and actually as another layer or another part of the music. And at any moment too, if the volume, is not comfortable for you, you can always adjust it on your own end. You can go up or down depending what feels right. And Yeah, with that, I'll hand it back to you, Dr. King.
All right, so in just a moment, I'm going to lead us through a description of what we can anticipate experiencing in our time together. But before I do that, I just love to recommend that wherever you are, you take a moment in this practice of slowing down to get comfortable in your space, whatever that means for you. So perhaps you might like to grab some water, or maybe you need a pillow to put behind your back to support you. And definitely, many of us might want to grab a journal. That might be a really beautiful way of expressing ourselves if you haven't already brought one with you to the space. It might be a very compassionate and supportive way of helping you to process your experience. And so with that, can we please bring up the slide that shows the flow of our time together? So the flow of our time together today will be the following. I will be walking you through an experience of 6 of the layers of the map. And each of those layers is going to be paired with an artwork that we have carefully selected for our time together today. We will also be introducing each layer of the map with approximately 2 minutes of storytelling. And this storytelling will be followed by 7 minutes that we will spend with each artwork, accompanied by a soundscape that has been created by Orlando, as well as you may hear me at times giving certain somatic cues. And these somatic cues will be invitations to notice what is arising in your experience of your body or perhaps your environment. Some of you may even want to go a little bit further than noticing, and you may want to move your bodies and take certain shapes in order to express what is arising inside of you. And so we definitely invite movement inside of the space. There will also be a silent period in viewing each work of art. During that silent period, when the music has shifted out of being ambient, the chat box will be opened up in order for you as participants, only if you wish. This is an invitation. You completely have choice here. So if you wish, you'll be able to go into the chat at that point and share with this incredible global community about your experience. The chat box will remain closed at other times so that you can really focus in on how this experience is landing with you. And then finally, we will have the opportunity to view the complete systems-based awareness map. And here's some final reflections from myself and Orlando, to hear some share back from, again, this beautiful global community. And then we'll hear some closing remarks from our facilitators. And so with that, and hopefully you've taken the time to get comfortable in your space, especially in terms of supporting your spine, your back, can we please bring up the very first layer of the map? So the invitation here is to perhaps take a couple of deep breaths, maybe 2 or 3 deep breaths, as you're beginning to take this image into your awareness. Notice which area of the map your eye begins to be drawn towards. If you're on a computer, you may want to maximize the zoom screen here so that you can really take in as much color as possible. You may also begin to feel your feet on the ground and notice what arises in your body. If there are particular places that begin to come alive, that you notice are speaking to you in some particular capacity as you take this first layer of the map in. And now I will begin with a little bit of storytelling. And the invitation here is to please focus on how my words, as well as the pauses between the words that I am offering up, land in your experience of the body, to notice how they make you feel. This layer of the map is called pure awareness. In the beginning, there was awareness. When we enter into a space of pure awareness, it is possible for us to experience interconnectedness to the world of our dreams, imagination, and consciousness. These are the aspects of our lives which are immeasurable, unquantifiable, and yet we experience them as the deep, deep waters in which so much of our experience of self lives. Who do we want to be? What do we want to become? These are questions that may become particularly alive when we explore pure awareness. When we are in this space, the boundary between our experience of self and the world might feel less apparent. Anything is possible and can come alive here. From this space, we might shift from pure potential into actuality. The formless can take form. The liminal becomes reality. And now we can shift to our first work of art. From here, you may bring attention to the quality of your breath, noticing the pace at which the breath is gently entering into and leaving the lungs. Notice if your belly is being held tightly towards the spine, and perhaps you can experiment with allowing the muscles of the belly to be loose. Are there any particular colors or textures that become more potent in your awareness? And if there's any particular type of movement that gets inspired by what you're seeing or what you're feeling, please feel free to stretch, move, shift inside of your space, and truly allow this work of art to flow through you. In this period of silence, the invitation is open to either journal about your experience, or you can go into the chat and share what has been arising for you. Taking your time, noticing if your experience of this art begins to shift in a container of silence. Orange as the color of hope. That's so beautiful. Heart rate went down. Tasting colors and sensing light. The artwork moving for and through the body. New solidity. This is the earth. Pure happiness, contentment. Warmth. Being held like a womb. Summer joy, colors of the sunset. Purple as home. Cheekiness. I love that word. The power of the mountains. Nostalgia. blood flowing through the skin, and the energy of Mother Earth. Interesting. Many people are seeing faces and figures emerging. Diagonal dance movements and liminality. Such poetry. We'll have just a few more moments to share with one another in the chat, and then we will shift to the next layer of the map. Incredible, incredible insights here. Yes, souls and spirits arising. Upward movement, rising up. Warmth, confusion, serenity of form from chaos. Beautiful. Fire. Sparkly universes. Delicate fragility. Folding, unfolding lungs. Notice what it is like to meet with the way that people are offering up reflections in the form of words inside of the chat. See if there are places inside of you that turn towards what people are sharing, or perhaps if there are places inside of you that turn away. Even this is a part of the process of what the artworks are catalyzing inside of our experience of the perception of self. And when we're ready, we can shift to the next layer of the map. This layer of the map is pure, or rather is internal awareness. Notice again what your eye becomes drawn towards in this figure. Is there anything new that has arisen in this image, which wasn't there in the previous image. Noticing how the ways in which the color being offered up here and the difference between this layer and the last is landing in your experience. What do you notice? Perhaps taking one more deep breath here and continuing to feel your feet on the earth. Internal awareness. The journey within is such a tender one. Our bodies house so many complex memories, thoughts, feelings, and emotions that make a seamless flow of our experience of self all at once. Sometimes these feelings and sensations can be slow and faint, seemingly experienced from a distance. Other times, our memories and emotions can be very prominent in the here and now. They can seem long-lasting. The arrival of each sensation is like a gleaming constellation of aliveness, and its radiance creates an intercellular matrix from which we come to remember, from moment to moment, where we have come from and who we are in the process of becoming. When we close or lower the eyes and go within to become intimate with our internal awareness, we begin a journey of re-familiarizing ourselves with this embodied place we call home. And now, to shift to our next piece of artwork. Noticing where your body is in time and in space. Are there any movements which spontaneously arise? How is the breath? Maybe you feel the need to slowly roll the shoulders or stretch out the arms. Feeling the transition between sound and silence. Here and again, the invitation is to either write and journal about your experience, or if you would like, you can turn toward the chat to express yourself. We will have 2 minutes to share in this space. And for any of you who find the chat to be distracting and you would just like to bear witness to the art and silence, you can always turn the chat box off. Feelings of discomfort, being unsettled and restless, fallen stars and broken bones. Ambiguity of time, space, and density. A feeling of cyclical creation and disintegration. Infinity. COVID. Awe arising. Life and death. Breakthrough. As above, so below. Falling through the sky. Shadow work. Cocoon breaking free, insecurity, and loneliness. Ah, someone else saw shadow work as well. A lung invaded by disease. A sense of unidentified light amidst the darkness. An invitation to go inside. Mystery. Resistance. A seed connected to ancestors. Always, always the invitation is open to take a series of deep breaths, noticing the push or pulling sensations arising as you feel brought towards this artwork. Shell equals listening. Disconnection. There are so many emergent themes, some of which are deeply resonant with one another and others which seem to be opposing. Notice what that is like within your experience as well. Ah, yes, a yearning for the music. A small seed that can produce a vast world. We'll take another few moments of sharing and then we will shift to the next layer of the map. You may notice that the name of the artwork is being shared in the chat, but if you don't get a chance to catch that, I'd just like to note that we will be sharing that with everyone at the very end. Mysterious, infinite, constant, elemental, ancestry, time travel, unknown constellations breaking through matter. Brilliant, brilliant shares. And now for the next layer of the map. This layer is called identity awareness. What do you notice has shifted in your perception of the map? Perhaps a new color is alive, which you did not notice before. Maybe you're noticing the ways in which the colors that were present before are interacting with the new color that has arisen in this moment. Feeling your feet on the ground, and perhaps again allowing the belly to relax and the shoulders to soften. What are the stories that we tell ourselves about who we really are? What are the stories we have inherited from others about who we think we are? Sometimes these storylines converge, and other times they look very different. The experience of our identity can be like putting on a pair of glasses whose lenses are refracting back to us a story of the world which is colored by our own experiences, as well as that of our forefathers and foremothers. Our ancestors had their myths, values, and ways of speaking and behaving which they passed down to us, their descendants. Many of these we experience as gifts. Others we experience as burdens. Our homes and communities are like fractals, reflecting and mirroring back to us the ways in which we perceive ourselves, as well as how we are ultimately perceived in return. The cells inside of our bodies literally dance with the tune of the song of identity, turning towards this multidimensional, constantly shifting experience of self can take both courage and practice. And now to shift to our next work of art. How is your breath? Is the pace and rhythm of your breath slow or fast? What is the difference between the left shoulder and the right shoulder? Is there a certain shape that your body wants to take right now in order to fully take this work of art in? What do you notice shifting and changing in your awareness? Maybe there is something subtle happening in the muscles of your face. Again, an opportunity to notice how we transition into silence. For those of you who wish, there is another opportunity here to either write reflections in your journal, or yet again, you can go to the chat. Double vision. A feeling of being pulled into the art. A loss of the sense of self and where you are. Sacred femininity. Playfulness. The life cycle. Dualities. The vibration of light. The universe is staring at me. Two lenses, two ways of seeing things. Cells coming alive. A mask. Your internal awareness is connected to the universe. A portal. Light protecting the dark. Entering the unknown. Illumination. Security. The theme of duality seems to be arising very frequently here. Yes, double consciousness. The opening of the mind. A darkness that feels safe. Birth. Hemispheres. We'll have a few more moments now of sharing in the chat before we transition to the next layer of the map. The brain, both the left and the right. Forest. Heart chakra asking for attention. Like a journey through the body. Metamorphosis. The breath slowing at first, and then a feeling in the womb. A look into the unknown. And with that, let us switch to the next layer of the map. This layer is body awareness. Again, we are greeted with an opportunity to see what has changed, what new form has taken shape in our experience of this map. Your eye may be drawn towards what seems to be the connection with our skin, and perhaps the boundary between our skin and the rest of the world. We might begin to imagine for ourselves what kind of information arises in this relationship between what we perceive as within and what we perceive as being without or external to our body. When we open our eyes to allow color and texture to flood our awareness, sincerely listening to and therefore feeling a song deep inside our bones, when we place our hands upon our own skin, making contact with the throb and thrum of our heartbeat, or a flood of flavor flows over the tongue with the arrival of some delicious dish. There are so many moments of becoming aware of what it means to be in a body that brings us in touch with the symphony of our lived experience. The breath goes flowing in and out, riding the rise and swell of our lungs, while the vibrating, pulsing tension of our blood flow emanates with a glow of soft heat. This experience is in me. This experience is in you. This experience unites all of us. In this moment, what does your body feel? Health and well-being, sickness or pain. Each of these painting a tapestry of aliveness, of vibrancy, of numbness, or the potency of what it feels like to be a being alive in this precious moment, feeling the air of the earth on our skin. It is a miracle to sense that which is outside of us at the same time that we sense that which is within. And now to shift to our next work of art. Perhaps the sound of the heartbeat in the music helped you to connect with your own heartbeat. You may notice a feeling of warmth in certain areas and coldness in others. If there's a certain movement that the body wishes to make to meet with this work of art, the invitation is here to do so. Feeling the feet on the earth. Again, as we begin to transition into silence, the chat is being opened up for you to share. Otherwise, please continue to sit with this work of art or journal. Divine femininity, the mother. Adam. Groundedness. Cinnamon, ceremony, and wind. Death. Fertility. Tomb. A body at rest waiting to reconnect with its soul. Fingerprints, a return to dust, scattered. Shroud of stillness, protection. Former glory. Life cycle of a person. Rest. Ah, the theme of the tomb continues to arise. Pachamama, beginnings and ends, Mother Earth as a doorway to life, floating versus sinking, waiting, waiting, waiting. We'll take just a few more moments here of sharing in the chat before we shift to the next layer of the map. Ancient wisdom. This is all of us, synthesizing, becoming sarcophagus, an artifact or a piece of history. And now to shift to the next layer of the map. Here we see awareness of self as enacted. Notice how the eye is drawn towards the new color that's been introduced to the map. Imagine for a moment that you are being completely still in the experience of your body. Perhaps you are sitting, standing, or lying down, simply observing your own experience, then imagine the very moment when some energy inside of you needs to become expressed. The very moment that you move your body in any given direction, that you express behavior, that the feeling of agency arises and you begin to act upon the world. This is the moment in which your experience of self becomes enacted. When people act, they manifest structures. New realities are formed and set into motion. It is totally possible to be a being enacting upon the world without being conscious of your effect. It is also possible to bring your awareness to that space that exists between the moment of stillness and action. And in that space, a whole new way of being can emerge. And now, shifting to our next work of art. Notice if your relationship with the experience of time has shifted. Where does the energy in your body feel most alive in this moment? Maybe you notice a sense of beginning. If anything inside of you feels the need to move, please feel free to express that now. Again, noticing the heartbeat. And here, another moment to write into the chat about what it is that you observed. Ascension. Movement, both fast and slow. Refugees. Interconnection, murmuration, pilgrimage. Moving towards the future, unknown and mysterious. The Egyptians walking the desert. Re-memory. A feeling of some sadness, like music or language being lifted off the page. We're in this together. Trail of tears. Memories of life till fades into death or darkness. Fleeting. The sacred gift of writing in the sand. We'll take a few more moments now to share our reflections in the chat before we shift to the final layer of the map. Coming home, wind blowing to the right, confusion, both pleasant and unpleasant, in search for something. Natural patterns, diversity, and community. And now we will shift to the final layer of the map. This layer is awareness of collective self as enacted. Noticing again the arrival of a brand new color to the map and how that might correspond to your experience of this moment. Each of us has a nervous system. Contained within our individual nervous systems is the imprint of all of our experiences and the experiences of those who came before us, all the way back to the first ancestor of humanity. What happens when two or more of us gather together? What energy and information gets shared between us, forming a web of reality within which we tap into an experience of the collective nervous system? We may think our role as one person is small, but in reality, everything that we are and have the potential to be is that which becomes what we experience as the environment, society, and culture. As one person shifts their awareness of their relationship to our collective nervous system, this could be a butterfly effect, vibrating upon the subtle strings of that which connects each of us to one another, transforming the nature of the experience of self for us all. And now to shift to the next piece of work, artwork. Noticing the particular potency of this image and how it lands in your embodied experience. Are there any contrasting sensations that arise? Some subtle shifts of the breath. Can you put a name to what is arising in your experience? What are you coming into contact with in your experience? And for one last time, as we transition into the silence, we will have an opportunity to share in the chat. What did you notice? Heaviness in the chest, sadness and darkness. Who kept us separated? The urge for compassion, identification, and succor. We are not free until we're all free. Borders, power, control, trapped. As it was in the beginning, so it shall be in the end. Together yet lonely. The prison of the self, free will, human nature, objectification, sorrow, pain, dominance of man. We'll take just a few more moments now to share inside of the chat before we shift and have an opportunity to see the entire map. Injustice and oppression, unfairness and trapped, horror, withdrawing dignity, caged, ancestry, the prison of our echo chambers. Break the bars, quicker breath. And now with that, we are shifting to see the very final image of the map. Here we see the complete version of the systems-based awareness map with all of the layers labeled. The way that you experience this map is completely unique to who you are. We hope that this is a useful tool along with the music to help us understand how awareness can impact our experience of both healing and well-being in all of their glorious complexity. And the chat remains open here. And we have a final question to ask of this community before we shift towards closing remarks. How do you imagine that you might use this map or the experience that you had today in your daily life to help you connect to your embodied capacity to be aware? And the chat is open here for some final reflections. How do you imagine you might use this map or this experience to help you connect to your capacity to be aware? It's okay if it takes a moment to think about it. Andrea says, I will use this in my community organizing meeting with students and community members I work with. This experience has helped me to slow down. Tuning in to understand my inner and outer worlds. A way to journal daily. The session being helpful in the role as a learner as well as a guide. The combination of visuals and auditory stimuli, amazing. A way to see art spaces as healing spaces. And Heather, it's absolutely okay if you haven't a clue. Looking inside and outside simultaneously, finding a way to forgiveness, helping to remember pure awareness, creating spaciousness and expansiveness. pausing to reconsider moment-to-moment connection, power of self, becoming. We will continue to leave the chat open for final reflections. I would love to express from the bottom of my heart so much gratitude from both myself as well as Orlando, as well as so much gratitude to all of the MoMA staff who helped make this happen. Thank you so very much. None of this is possible without all of you showing up to engage in this particular collective nervous system.